practices by the EEDC and its officials, as well as NERC, which he said has brought untold hardship for workers and businesses. The TUC chairman, Ben Asogwa, said that tariff increase was never the solution to Nigeria's problem, stressing that Nigerians were currently faced with challenges of fuel subsidy removal and high cost of living, and advised NERC and EEDC to stop the exploitation and reverse the tariff hike.
You told us that you would divert the money. Enough is enough. Yes, what we want from both NEC and EEDC, you know that one we paid before now was still exploitation. We can tolerate that one, but not for further increase. That's what we are telling you today.
Members of NLC and TUC who chanted grievance songs in front of the EEDC
calling for Electricity Regulatory Commission the once sprawling business area to rubbles.
Big for the development of the state. It wants to grow the economy of the state from a 4 billion naira to about 30 billion naira economy. Among the projects designed to achieve this quantum leap is the proposed Enugu Modern Transport
next 5 years. The minister announced that as part of the Nigeria users will have their entrepreneurial ventures funded with up to 10 million naira underway after floods killed 43 in Indonesia. And in sports, Finidi George names his assistant after he was formally unveiled in Abuja. Join us after this break. The Duchess of Sussex, Meghan, says it was exciting to discover her Nigerian heritage, which she immediately shared with her mother. Meghan paid tribute to Nigerian women, saying the discovery of her heritage was eye-opening and humbling. She made the remarks as she joined the Director General of the World Trade Organization, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, to host a women's leadership event in Nigeria's capital, Abuja. Meghan and her husband, Prince Harry, are on their first trip to Africa's most populous nation, which was prompted by links forged through the Invictus Games, an international sporting event started a decade ago by the Duke for military personnel wounded in action. Flash floods have caused people lost their lives and over 1,600 others were injured in the disaster. Authorities say Angol. This has resulted in a significant humanitarian crisis in Afghanistan, a country that is already grappling with the aftermath of several earthquakes earlier this year and severe flooding in March. Bagan province was one of the hardest hit areas, with more than 300 from the World Food Programme. Local authorities say the relief efforts were being made to meet the needs of the affected population and called for international help, saying thousands of homes have been damaged and livestock washed away or killed. Rescuers on Monday searched for missing people after flash floods and mudslides killed at least 43 people in Indonesia's cold lava flow, which is a mixture of volcanic ash, rock debris, and water that flows like mud in 3 districts in West Sumatra province. The National Disaster and Management Agency, BNPB, said in this
We are glad to know that you are still watching Signature Morning, coming to you from Enugu. Next on this show is newspaper headlines. To give you the headlines is The Guardian. And under the nameplate you have mistrust, greed, start talk, takeoff of new telephonic licenses in states. Terrorists killed 5 soldiers, many villagers in Katsina State. Race houses, military silent.
Still on the Daily Trust, mega party talks surface as Obi visits Atiku, Lamido, Saraki. Federal government plans productivity-based wage system for workers. Well, we're not talking about minimum wage anymore. It's productivity-based wage. It's interesting. Slain FIRS official planning marriage in December, says the uncle. Tariff hike, Labour insists on reversal, pickets NERC discos offices. You can find the details on the Daily Trust this morning. We're moving over to the next newspaper.
And that is the Punch. Below the masthead is electricity tariff hike. Federal government convenes meetings as Labour threatens indefinite protests.
Interesting, still on the Punch, just above the masthead, still this alliance talk. Who knows what will happen between now and 2027. Obi Atiku initiate alliance talks ahead of 2027 polls. CBN may intervene as Naira slides to 1,478 to the dollar. Well, federal government may need supplementary budget to pay minimum wage, says IMF. All the details you can find on the Punch this morning. We're headed over to the next newspaper.
And that's The Nation. And trending is FEC adopt CNG-powered vehicles for ministers and agencies.
Still on The Nation, just above the masthead, the alliance talk is still leading. Atiku Obi Saraki Lamido begin 2027 coalition talks. Productivity-based wage coming for workers. I am really interested in that productivity wage story. INEC plans new voter registration in Edo and Ondo State. We know Edo State is having their election sometime in September. They are in fact underway with their campaign. So I'm just wondering why INEC is planning a new voter registration at this time. Restructuring of NYSC for future challenges starts. Finidi mounts saddle, vows rejig of Super Eagles. Well, we don't want too much rejigging, so we don't rejig ourselves out of the competition. I'm talking about the 2026 World Cup and the 2025 Nations Cup, which is just a year and 2, respectively.
Come to think of it, the Atiku visit, the Obi visit to Atiku, Saraki, and Lamido, the signal early activities for 2027. And a lot of Nigerians are wondering what's going to happen to Labour Party, because I'm sure Atiku is as entrenched in the PDP as Sule Lamido in his party, and Obi's gestures may signal something different for our nation. Are we looking up to the mega party?
Absolutely. You know, this is exactly the same thing I was thinking about. But I was discussing with someone, and then he drew my attention to what was done in 2014 before the 2015 elections, where we had coalition of parties. We had the ACN at the time, we had the CPC at the time, the AMPP, and part of APGA. We're still going to go through that route, gain power, just to share resources, and then nothing really happens for the people.
Well, just for my last comment, Nigerians are beginning to wonder whether this political meandering, when politics begin to approach, you find politicians begin to crisscross states and begin
Politicians face fury over lavish lifestyles. Nigerian social media users have experienced widespread frustration and anger over perceived corruption and extravagant lifestyles of Nigerian politicians. Posts criticize politicians for flaunting wealth, engaging in self-centered politics, and making empty promises to the republic. The discussion highlighted a broader concern about politicians prioritizing their own interest over the welfare of the people they serve, with some users calling for accountability and punishment for corrupt politicians. Labour Union protest electricity price surge. The Nigerian Labour Congress (NLC) and Trade Union Congress (TUC) have initiated nationwide protest against the recent hike in electricity tariffs and the removal of subsidies in the power sector.
Intrigued by the IMF suggestion, or is it even a directive, that electricity subsidies should be
Removed.
in New York and other exotic cities. They don't know what we are suffering here in Africa. Already, as it is, the tariff is high. And you could imagine what will happen to the downtrodden if the supposed subsidy is removed. A lot of people these days are not even buying the units anymore. Mm-hmm. Some are starting to even charcoal, some are starting to lantern, just to survive. Because you just go buy 20,000, and before you say Jack Robin.
Mine is worse. It's worse, really. I mean, yes, you spoke about IMF.
The Federal Republic of Nigeria is the visitor to the university, so he does the final appointment. So what others do is to nominate whomever they feel is more qualified. And every federal university in Nigeria has a governing council. And this governing council is made up of two principal members, the external members and the internal members. Now they come together to form the council. Now, in situations like the appointment of vice chancellors and also taking vital university decisions as to the running of as the most qualified persons will now form the list that will be sent to the president. Now, the law says that it will be 3 persons. That was the former regulation. But, you know, it depends on the mood of the presidency. Sometimes they will say, send 3 lists. Sometimes they say it is the duty of the council. So that what the council will now do is to, you know, do the interview and then nominate the final, just 1 person, not 3 again. Like the last one we had, it was just the current VC now. It was the only person that was nominated and was, you know, voted for, taken to the presidency and appointed. So this is the procedure that I know that is used in the appointment of vice chancellors.
Vice chancellors are not politicians. It's based on academics. Once you are a professor or qualified, wherever you come from, you are qualified to contest for that position. For governors or presidents deciding on who chooses or who becomes the vice chancellor, the geographical location should not matter, should not count at all. For instance, I remember that the first vice chancellor of University of Jos, Professor Onaguchi, is an Igbo man. Professor Chiwete Ejike, that's on Igbo man. He was also vice chancellor of University of Meduguri. Because there are federal universities. You consider the qualification of that person, the antecedents. What did he do before? Is he qualified to have that position? He head of academics. You're not still the head of politicians.
What we do is we look at the various qualifications of the various aspirants. We consider how many years you have put in as a professor. We also look at various things you have done for the university and in the university. We also look at your past records. Now, when we consider all this, the members of the council, each and every one of us has the veto power to say this is the person we want. And that's why it is the governing council that chooses the vice chancellors of the university. When they are done, they now take it to visitor, who is the president of the nation. Now, that does not mean that in some university, okay, there may not be, somehow mago, but where I can be a vice chancellor of a university in the north, if I may, I can, even as a staff. I'm from Nnamdi Azikiwe University. If there is a position in any federal university in the north, I have the right to apply. And I can get it. If all that are required, I have them.
Not really. Nomination of vice chancellor, they send about 3 names or so over to the president for appointment. And the president selects from any of those. They may rank their candidates, but it is the president of the country that actually appoints any of them. But the council would have deliberated on it and say, these are our choice. This number 1, number 2, number 3. Then the president appoints. Here, it is on merit, and that is from well-qualified candidates. Who is who, and in fact, the appointment, it may be done, the selection may be done by an investment group that has no stake in it than to find the right candidate. Or if it is being done by the university, then they select from the deans, okay, and including the provost, to look at the candidates that are coming in. And there could be more than 100 candidates, and they just whittle them down to like 10, and then down to about 5, and begin to invite them to campus to come and address the students and everything. And by the time it's done, they make recommendation to the board of trustees for appointment. In the US, the president also would have no role in the university, none. But here, they do. That's the difference.
You have heard from the professors from our ivory towers. I am Quincy Roland, and I am returning you back to the studio for the continuation of Signature Morning.
Welcome back, and you are still watching Morning Show on Signature Television, reaching you from Enugu, the coal city state. A university is actually a center of excellence in terms of teaching, in terms of learning, in terms of research, and of course innovation. It therefore attracts intellectuals from within and outside its immediate environment. In developed climes such as the United Kingdom, Europe, America, and even Australia, the processes and procedures for the selection and appointment of vice chancellors are entrenched. In Nigeria and other African countries, unfortunately, much as there are laid down rules for the appointments and selections, political considerations, ethnic, gender, and even Nnamdi Okenwa. Prof, good morning and welcome to Signature Morning.
Thank you very much, Uche. Thank you.
Well, I'll just go straight to the point. You're not a stranger to the academic environment. You're not a stranger to the university. I'm sure I met you at the Department of Mass Comm. You are head of a department, and now you've gone to Coast City University. So I'm sure you are very conversant. Okay.
There was a period when there was the need for a vice chancellor at the Nnamdi Azikiwe University. 3 names were sent up to Abuja. It turned out that 2 people had somebody or people coming to lobby. Let it be this man. Let it be this man. Obasanjo was then the head of state. What he said was that, who is this person that nobody is lobbying for? And he picked that person who...
the orphan. He picked the orphan.
He picked the man nobody was lobbying for. I mean, that is illegal.
No, but that does not presuppose that because you are a younger vice chancellor, that you may not be more knowledgeable in administration and management. And I recall, let me say this, and I hope I won't be crucified. Remember there's a time he used to talk about Zodiac professors in Enugu. And so if one was a Zodiac professor, so to speak, in quotes, and I am a professor by merit, because those Zodiac professors were not on merit. Okay?
Well.
And I come endowed. Okay, and because you've been there a donkey years, will that automatically translate to you being, even if you don't have any leadership qualities?
The professor, the vice chancellor, and trust is the same. But now a new dimension has come into it. With this gender issue now, women are beginning to see that, look, they're not treating us well. At least we remember there was the time in the University of Benin, Professor Mary Alale Williams.
Grace Alale Williams.
Grace Alale Williams was the first female vice chancellor. And he did very well. But we'll see, that same issue is still happening. Calabar has a female vice chancellor.
I think Benin currently has a
female. No, I don't think so. Then Odumegwu Ojukwu University has a female vice chancellor. I think that's Adama was so another female vice chancellor. So women, that has become another factor into it. But what gives us worry now is like when we were in the university, a governor's local government area is very important. Another important factor is who has been there before, so that let's bring about a change. It may not be because this person is very, very sound, but let us have our own turn. But it comes down to the Nigerian factor. There must be something gained from the position.
Yeah.
That must account for the choice that is made. It's not on whether the person is the best person there.
Okay, I think in all these, there must be law or laws that set out in concrete terms that he has some administrative and managerial competencies.
But, you see, somebody who rises to become a professor, right? He may have been head of department. He may have been head of certain committees here and there. So you find that he has some kind of administrative experience. He may not be that requiring a degree, but experience and time would have been helpful to him. So you find that he has been in the system. He will know
affiliations should play some role in selection of vice chancellors?
You see, the vice chancellor has several advisors. Several advisors. Some may be his colleagues, some may be politicians, some may be traditional rulers, and each of them mean a lot to him. He takes the advice quite serious. It depends on the one that influences him more. But one thing that the vice chancellor does not have the final say. If the things to gain, contracts to be attracted here and there, and perhaps bringing, that's the major one, bringing people who are not qualified to be in school, because we're having quite a lot of them in the system now. You begin to wonder, how did these people get admission into the school? So you find that the vice chancellor is a powerful position.
Okay, you spoke to indirectly, but I want to ask the question directly to the place of ethnicity. Now we call it zoning. That's the political word, zoning.
Yes.
Do you see that playing a role in the appointment of vice chancellors?
It plays a role. Depend will throw away sentiments. Sentiments must come in whatever decisions we make. If I know Uche very, very well, right, and there is a space created, and I have known Uche for long, and I know Uche will fit in, Uche may not be very much around, but I'll phone him. Uche, where are you? When he comes back, look, I know you can do this for me. Why not? Can you? That's all. It's settled. So there may be guidelines, but are they followed? That is another problem again. Guidelines might be there, but they may be followed. So the considerations as to how it goes will depend on the man at the driver's seat. He decides what he wants, but he will also know the level of support he will get when such a decision is made. Because there are vice chancellors end their tenure and still remain in the system. How they behave when they were there will determine how they will receive things when they come out of the system. So that determines, that serves as a check. So you find that, but where we are worried is there a pattern for choosing who becomes a vice chancellor? That's the main problem we have. There could be a pattern, but is that pattern followed? This idea of people coming to lobby, or this idea of saying, okay, this person has come from this place, so let her, it may not be the best. It is possible that this place, whose turn it is.
Because I've seen where some Nigerians are vice chancellors or presidents in foreign universities. In America, in the UK. And when they're appointed, we celebrate that.
In the UK, plenty.
As much as considering that they now say, look, go back to your country and become for whatever you are. So maybe our closing question would be, as a well-bred academics, in spite of our sentiments, what should be the procedure for appointing a vice chancellor, without minding whose ox is God?
Okay. You mentioned it earlier. Your productivity, your research output, your contributions to the university and to the environment. Sit here and think we can, on a day, resort to the kind of things we see there. We're coming there, but it's going to take some time.
Well, I just on that, well, I say point of optimism and pessimism. Because of what you just said, we want to bring the segment to a close. Hello. It is still Signature Morning on Signature Television, reaching you from Enugu, the cool city state. And this is the second segment. We are being joined by another erudite professor. He's actually the Dean, School of Postgraduate Studies. He was the Dean, School of Postgraduate Studies, Enugu State University of Science and Technology. And he's the Dean, Faculty of Engineering, former. His former Dean, School of Postgraduate Studies method may have changed. Reasons we may not know. I recall that as a young man, when the University of Ibadan was established, that at the time, an Igbo man was a vice chancellor. And also do remember that in my alma mater, the University of Nigeria, at the time, there was a northerner as vice chancellor. And so when you find the clamor for our own son of the soil to become a vice chancellor, you begin to wonder whether the universities are,
be it in UK, be it in America, be it in Nigeria, is the engine of development of a nation. It drives every other segment of the economy. Because if you want the works unit, the bridges, the flyovers, if you want the economy to work, the university system must be at the center. And that is why in every civilization, whether it's in America or in China, they have strong universities. And so who mans this engine of development is very, very important for us to know. And how does it happen? Do you just University is a complex system. People, intellectuals of independent minds. So if you have not mixed up with the system for a long time, you cannot effectively drive the system. And that's why they said, number one, you must have been an outstanding scholar. You can only give what you have. If you are a make-off professor, you cannot effectively lead a university. Is one, it helps you to see how members of council run a university. You must have been a dean of a faculty, or dean of postgraduate school, or director of the academic planning, or director of what I call DAP admin or DAP academic, and so on and so forth. So that is one. Being these things gives you the cognitive experience to be a member of Senate, apart from being a professor who is a permanent member of Senate. And Senate, the Vice Chancellor is the chairman of Senate. And in that capacity, he must have been a member of Senate. Professor, Dean, HOD, Director, and so on and so forth. These things are the cognitive experience. It will be difficult for anybody who is not